Do you live in a van and are considering adopting a cat? Do you have a cat and are considering living in a van? Have you ever wondered what full-time van life is like with a cat? Stick around, I might just have some answers for you. Hey guys, I'm Sam, you're watching Sam Does Van Life, and this is the first video in a series I'm excited to call How to Full-Time Van Life with a Cat, featuring my travel buddy and co-pilot, Cali the Adventure Kitty. Very well done. I trained her to do that. A true story. I've got a lot of information and experiences to share with you guys, but today we're just gonna go over the basics. 5 things you need to get on the road. Alright, let's get started. Number 1, space. It doesn't get much smaller than a van. Cats like to, well, sleep for 15 hours a day, but for the other 9 hours, 9 hours? Is that what it equals out to? But for the other 9 hours a day, cats like to explore and to hunt and to, well, observe. So whether you're planning your build, in the middle of your build, or on the hunt for that finished van with a perfect layout, plan to have areas specifically left clear so your cat can roam around. Don't ever forget, it's their home too. Number 2, the litter box. There are 4 main considerations surrounding the litter box. Is it the right size for your cat? Kittens can get away with a smaller litter box than adults, and adult cats can greatly vary in size. Bigger cats will require bigger litter boxes, or you'll have to clean them more, which is fine, but know that going into it. So consider the size of the litter box and if it meets the needs of your cat, or clean it more. One of the two. Does the litter box fit? You might have picked a perfect location for the litter box, but if you have to change sizes or if you didn't measure correctly, it might not fit in the place you wanted it to go. Does your litter box come with a lid? Is the lid something you're going to want to have on? The lid's going to take up almost as much space as the litter box itself does. Does the litter box fit? You might have picked a great location, but if you didn't measure correctly or you forgot about the size of the lid, it might not fit where you intended it to go. So double check your measurements, factor in the lid, whether or not you're going to use the lid, and make sure it fits in the location that you picked. Number 3, can you get at it easily to clean it? How much stuff do you have to move to get at it? Not something that seems like a big deal beforehand, but can be a huge pain in the ass later on. So, you've got the perfect size litter box for your cat. You've picked a location and it actually fits. You can get at it easily to clean it. Have you left room for your cat to get at it to use it? It sounds like it should be a no-brainer, but make sure you leave enough space for your cat to easily access its litter box, because the other side of that is it just might not use it, and nobody wants that. So make sure you leave enough space for your cat to get at it too. If you're full-time van lifing with the cat, let me know in the comment section below where you keep your litter box. Alright, number 3. Things to consider about food and water. Does your cat require specialty food? Is the food you choose to feed your cat hard to find? Does the small town or campground you're going to be parked in even supply pet food? Or will they run out during peak seasons? Is your cat picky with its food and will only eat a certain type? If your cat does require special food for whatever reason and you buy in bulk, do you have enough space to store it? And are you going to have enough for how long you're going to be away from a store that does sell it? So those are a couple food considerations. Do you know what the water quality is going to be like in the next place you're going? If it's terrible, do you have bulk supplies of water? If you do have bulk supplies of water, do you have enough for how long you're going to be away? You don't want to end up running out of water or food. That would be terrible. But if the water quality is going to be bad, or the food your cat likes is harder to find, you might want to consider calculating or observing how much food your cat will go through and how much water your whole van will go through to make sure that you have enough in bulk supply for however long you're going to be gone for. Number 4, harnesses. Yay! Every cat likes to be in a harness and on a leash. Yeah? No? None of that? No? Okay. So, do you need a harness? Let me just answer this one for you. Unless you have a cat that's trained better than most dogs, that's super obedient and that can definitely take care of itself, yes, I would absolutely suggest that you need a harness and a leash for your cat while you're living in a van. There's no other way to guarantee that your cat is not going to wander off. There's no other way to guarantee that your cat is going to be where you need it to be if you have to leave by certain times. And there's no other way to guarantee or mostly guarantee your cat's safety. with all the different and strange and new places that you'll be traveling to. You can definitely leave your cat off leash, and maybe your cat is super awesome. Maybe your cat can handle itself. Maybe your cat will come back at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock every single night, or be there at 6 a.m. every morning. But if not, I would absolutely suggest a harness and a leash for your cat for its safety. We go to a lot of different places, and that's a lot of trust to put in a lot of strangers and a lot of strange animals and a lot of strange cars and even a lot of trust to put into your cat. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not quite that trusting of a person. So a harness and a leash in my mind is an absolute no-brainer. So you're getting a harness. What kind of harness? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. This doesn't seem to be widely known, surprisingly, but dog harnesses, however small, were designed for dogs. And cat harnesses, which were designed for cats, are meant to be worn by cats. I know. Shh, don't tell anyone. Because nobody seems to know anyways. Where this matters is how well the harness will actually fit your cat and how easily or not easily your cat will be able to escape the harness. Because if your cat's escaping, why even have a harness, right? So rule number one for harnesses, buy the right harness for the right pet. If you have a dog and you want the dog in a harness, buy a dog harness. If you have a cat and you want the cat in a harness, buy a harness designed for cats. So we've narrowed the search of harnesses down to cat harnesses. Awesome. Now what kind of cat harness? There's a couple different styles, and I'm not going to tell you what you should buy for your cat. I have every faith that you can go research this, make a decision that is both right for you and for them. But from my experiences, I would strongly recommend against the strap harnesses. What I would strongly recommend instead is a vest style harness. This part goes underneath, and on top it is straps, but if they do get stuck, the part that's going to be holding them up is a lot more comfortable, padded, a little breathable too, because it is going to be a little bit warmer than just straps. But this style, if they get stuck or hung up for periods of time, which shouldn't be very long because you should be checking on them frequently anytime they're outside in their harness and on a leash, but this will be a more comfortable style than one that is made of just straps. This one, as soon as she heard me get it, cats will never like harnesses. Callie's been in harnesses since she was like a little floof ball, no bigger than my mic floof. But how much they detest it can vary. Mildly detest is probably the best you're gonna get and what you should aim for. But it goes all the way up to if they see it, they hiss at you and scratch. I have never had that happen with Cali because she's been doing it for a long time. But if you're trying to harness train an adult cat for the first time, especially for going too fast, it might get to something where they hear or see the harness and they get defensive. So just keep that in mind. Oh, never rip the tags off. Yeah. This one goes over top of her head. There you go. Like so. And then this clips under her armpit. Make sure the collar is cleared too, because it will pull down a little bit once you get the other side strapped on. So I always make sure her collar is clear. And do you see how her demeanor is totally changed? She does not like it, but she puts up with it. So this particular harness, when it is on, gives her lots of shoulder room. I've got it fairly loose, you know, more than a thumb space. Underneath it looks like this. I know, sweetie. I know, thank you. And this particular one I really like because the leash clips onto the back. All the other ones I've had that were little tiny dog harnesses, it clips on back here. And what she used to do is she used to face the leash and extend it as far as it would go, and she would back right out of it. She can't do that now that it's attached at the back, so that's pretty cool. I know, I'm sorry. And the last thing I want to show you before Cali hates me for life is when they're suspended, if they try to jump down and they're all tangled up, thank you. I know. That's what they look like when they're suspended, when they're hung up. If they are wrapped around something and they go to jump down and they don't quite make it, that is what they will look like. That is where the weight will be, and that's where it will pull from. So you want to make sure... cat hair. You want to make sure in the event that happens, because it's not if, but when, if you have cats on leashes, this will happen. You want to make sure the part under their body, because all leashes will attach behind them, either at the nape of their neck or, like you saw, between their shoulder blades. You want to make sure that the part touching their body is not going to also cut into them, because you don't know how much force they jumped down with, and you don't know how long they're going to be hung up like that for. In theory, it should only be a minute or two, because you should be checking on them very frequently, because that is a hazard. That is a very, very big possibility, probability even. But if they are out there for a couple minutes, if you went to the bathroom or something and came back out and they were hung up, you want to make sure that they are going to be suspended as comfortably as possible considering the circumstances. You do not want the harness to cut into them. You do not want the harness to choke them out. And you do not want the harness to put pressure on things like their rib cage. And if it's just a strap, it might. I don't know all harnesses, and I'm not condemning any one style specifically. I just know what I've experienced with Cali and what I've experienced working in a harness myself for years. And if you can get a vest style harness, something with a bit more padding underneath, that is what I would suggest your best bet is. But again, there's a lot of information online for cat harnesses, what styles there are, and I would suggest, if you're looking into this for the first time, to definitely do some research, read some product reviews, watch some product reviews, and even watch videos on how to properly harness train your cat. I kind of touched on this a little bit in harnesses, but I think it needs its own category. So for number 5, we're going to talk about safety. In constantly changing environments like we van dweller nomadic types are always in, the hazards are always changing. If you can't remember all the different hazards in all the different areas you go to, the one thing you can remember is that the hazards will be new in the new location you're in. And if all you do is remember that, you'll remember to look for the new hazards. Hazards out in the woods and rural areas are going to be much different than hazards downtown somewhere, are going to be much different than hazards while you're stealth fanning in a city, a big city versus a new city, rural suburban areas versus the country versus out in the woods. They're all going to be different, and the best way you can remember all the hazards is to not remember all of them, but to look for the ones that are different from the last place you were in. If every time you set up or park for the night, you take a look outside before you let your cat or your dog out and look for what new hazards there are between this new place and the last place, you'll get in a really good habit and it'll become second nature after a while. So that's it. Today we went over 5 basic considerations for how to full-time van life with a cat. Notice how there wasn't much I told you to do. I can't tell you how to do this. What works for me might not work for everybody. The best I can do is give you questions you can ask yourself so you can find out what works best for your cat, for your van, and for your life. That's it. After that, it's up to you. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, or if you think I forgot major elements about full-time van life with a cat, please leave a comment below and I would love to chat with you more about it. If you like this video, hit the like button, share it with a fellow van dweller or cat lover, and subscribe to find out more about real full-time van life and van life DIYs. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for coming out. Happy vanning, happy DIYing, and I'll see you in the next one.